I'm actually live here. It's not a 3D. And yes, please. It's always good to have something to hold on. And I just learned. It's a bit high. I just learned that there is a new meaning to DRR. Of course, it's disaster risk reduction, but it's also disaster reduction reception. So, thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for joining us on a Friday evening to think a bit about disaster risk reduction, what it means, how do we deal with it, and to bring this crowd together. I like very much your T-shirts with the QR code in the back. You have to try this, and when you take the QR code, you have everything. You have all the videos, you have all their websites. Quite innovative idea to do it. Switzerland. In our bill that we passed just this summer, that will actually define our strategy for the next 4 years, disaster risk reduction and the management of safety, of risks, takes a central stage. We try indeed to not only look at response, but to look before. After a disaster, it's always before the next disaster. So, how to reach a higher level of security? One of the main pillars of our strategy for the next years to come, and a lot of investment in terms of research, in terms of human resource capacity, and in terms of attention is put into it. In this sense, it is one of the few areas, disaster risk reduction, where investment has still some return. In these days of limited interest rates, it's actually interesting to see $1 invested in disaster risk reduction pays out up to $5 or you can save up to $5 in your response. And indeed, looking a bit in general about the economic situation, you don't have this normally with your investments. Perhaps 3 points. First of all, great focus. To have the focus on women and girls as, I'm not so sure about the invisible, perhaps for sure unrecognized, but visible, I would say, drivers of disaster risk reduction, of safety, of security, of prevention. First point, risk management is based on knowledge. You have to know the risk, you have to understand the risk. Here Switzerland invests up to 50 million in research. We really not only put this center stage of our activities, but want to look into development of a better understanding of disaster, of risks that we have to address, and address at the right level. It's common knowledge that at the local level, there you have the expertise, there you have the knowledge, there you have the people who understand it best. That's why it's important, of course, to have the international community on board, but in the end, you have to hit the ground level. You have to hit those people, you have to address, you have to include those people on the ground. And there, obviously, women are a very important factor. And that's why I have, let's say, I would say, not the invisible, but very visible factor to take into account. Second point, resilience. It's a buzzword used so often in these days. You cannot deliver resilience. You know, you cannot bring 2 tons of resilience, or you cannot measure it in decibel. Resilience you can only provide when you know what you have to be resilient against. So again, you have to understand the causes and the consequences of risks, of disasters, where they come from, what kind of consequences they can have. Risk mapping is one of the major issues where we invest a lot, and then linking relief with rehabilitation, with development, and of course always with a view to prevention and repairness. This sort of link is central, which leads then to a better resilience and to also a sustainable development. Thirdly, development of an effective global risk management governance system is essential. And there Switzerland wants to play an active role and to contribute to the debate, how to further risk reduction and risk management. We look very much forward to next year's global platform. We want to be involved, we want to be part of it, we want to contribute, and of course also to the post-2015 debate. When we look at post-Kyoto, where do we go? How do we address these challenges that are increasing? And there, I can assure you Switzerland's commitment and pledge our contribution, be it by brain, be it of course also financially, but also in terms of human resources. This is essential that we do not only think of firefighting today and tomorrow, but think of a couple of years down the road, what kind of risk we will be exposed to. And there, again, it's only possible if you have an inclusive process. And there I want to encourage all the women and the girls to participate. In this sense, again, under-recognized perhaps, but I hope the longer, the more visible and active. Thank you very much.